Hello everybody, my name is Andy Greenacre. I'm going to be the host, very proud host I must say, of today's session, and I'm very excited to be joined by somebody who I've got to know really well over lockdown, and we're going to be having a making session with the fabulous Jim Parkyn. Jim, hello and welcome. How are you today?
Good. Well, I'm cold. The studio I'm in is an old watermill, and the heating's broken, so I'm wearing a hat and lumberjack shirt to keep nice and warm for this one. Hopefully, you're all a little bit warmer than I am, but my clay is nice and warm, so we're all good to go.
Fantastic. So, I mean, why don't you tell people what we're actually going to be making today, which I think is really exciting.
So, oops, it's just in the cold. His arm's just dropped off, so bear with me. We're going to be making a Christmas reindeer of my own design, so you won't find another one like it. So this is a Jim Parkyn original, and it's nice and simple, and you don't have to stick to the colours that I've chosen, but you certainly can do. I've got this time, I'm going to go for red all over, I think, or maybe even a grey jumper. That's the colours I've got. If you've got a multicoloured pack like Andy, that's absolutely fantastic. You can go for a rainbow of colours. And yeah, so the most important bit is really the brown, obviously, because we want a nice brown for the reindeer body.
So you've made this model specifically for the wonderful digital craft festival. I know that Sarah asked you, and she was rather giddy when you showed her the design. And I believe there might be a rumour that she actually named him the other day.
I think that's right. Actually, yes, it was rather good. Actually, yes.
Excellent. So, Jim, without further ado, I think it's probably a good idea for me to stop talking and for you to let us know. Just to say to everyone, if you've got any questions, please do ask them in the chat, and we will get to them when we can, and we may be able to have a look at some of your creations later. So, Jim, do you want to start us off and tell us what we need to do to get going?
Yes, well, we're going to start with brown bit. So you can see there's a camera here with my hands. So if you want to concentrate on that, that's probably the good one. You can watch my face if you like, but the hand cam will give you more.
There we go.
There we go, as if by magic. Fantastic. And it's not my best angle, but you can see what we're doing here. I'm going to turn my reindeer around as a life model as well, and without his arm dropping off. As I say, it's very cold in my studio. So there's the chap we're making, and I'm going to take about, thinking a little less than a half of a strip at first. In fact, yeah, it's a pretty good way to go. So we're going to take off just under a half strip, like so. And I'm then going to tear off a very small amount off that as well. This is going to make our head. So we're going to start with the head. So I've taken off a half, and then I've taken off about an inch or a square off that. So the larger piece.
What's that bit for then, Jim? So what's the little kind of extra bit?
Yeah, the little piece we're going to split down the middle, and that's going to make ears. So the Minecraft version of a reindeer at the moment. So so we're just separating the clay to make sure we've got enough for each piece. So I'm going to start with the head, and the head, the trouble with this is to get your clay nice and warm. Now, I'm in a little bit of trouble today because it's very cold in here. But if you start with a kind of sausage shape or a carrot shape, it actually is rather brilliant. Now, as Andy knows, as Andy's been attendant in many of my workshops, carrots feature quite heavily. In fact, food items feature quite heavily in most things that I do. So
we met actually at Community Playtime. I'll warm this up. I'll say that there was a thing whenever Jim said carrots, there would be carrot emojis flying up on the screen. Obviously, we can't do that now. But if you all would like to just shout carrot at the screen in unison, that would be wonderful. I know that it really does travel well across the airwaves. So we're making I know you normally call it one like this, a chantenay carrot, don't you?
Yeah, that's right. One of the posh ones from Waitrose, yeah. Excellent. So it's a bit of work, but it's worth spending that time just getting a bit of warmth in there. And as you can see, we've got this kind of carrot shape. It doesn't have to be that perfect at this stage. As I say, perfection will come later on.
And you're people who don't know what you do, why don't you just tell people while you're doing this a little bit about Jim Parkyn and what you do and who you are?
Okay. Well, first of all, what I'm going to do actually before we get into me is I'm just going to take that pointed end and give it a slight pinch up like so. So if I hold it closer to the camera, like so, hopefully you can see that.
Yeah.
We're looking kind of a little bit of an eyebrow, and the rest of it's going to be hidden under a hat. But you can really affect a character's personality and and emotion by having a good eyebrow. And a lot of what we make around the different studios kind of features this, what we call the OBE, the one big eyebrow. So that's quite the left and right mixed up a bit there. That's pretty. Where are we? Where's my camera gone? There we go. I'm going to edge across the screen, and then we're going to get closer.
There we go.
And then we're going to move away, and then you're going to see it. There we go.
Now,
I was doing this on an iPad, which is much bigger and much easier to use. So I'm shooting the close-up bit with my phone. And a phone is a great thing, actually, for shooting animation and stuff as well, because you can get in really close, and there are loads of apps for phones and tablets as well. So I work professionally as a model maker, and I happen to have a model making tool in my pocket. Now, you can use cocktail sticks just as easily for this. And what I'm going to do is just push in the front there and draw in or press in a bit of a mouth. Now, hopefully you can see that up close. So a smiley face. And where I've made that kind of present line, I'm just pushing the clay back to make a little bit of a jawline. Is that coming up clearly on screen?
Yeah, we can see that. There's a jawline that you're putting in there. And I know that you always say about this, about pressing, not dragging, don't you?
Yeah, that's right. And just pushing the clay is a kind of a much better way of doing it. If you drag it, you can kind of rough up the surface and scuff the surface. And you're kind of compressing, really. So I'm a professional model maker. So I work with the likes, well, most famously for people like Aardman Animations and the BBC, but I also work all over the country, sometimes the world, making animation puppets. And since the COVID situation, I've been running a thing called Community Claytime, which is it was a weekly or thrice weekly, or even more than that, time at 3 o'clock every day, where people could join in, and we'd pick different themes and we'd make things in modelling clay. Could be in Play-Doh, could be in icing, could be in plasticine. And yes, and it's going to continue with a Christmas theme in December, actually. But as the world had opened up again, I'd got a bit of work, so had to drop it for a little bit. But it's been a fantastic thing. We've made 91 creations, so I'm hoping to bring it up to the 100 before Christmas. So there is our kind of basic shape, minus eyes and minus nose, for our reindeer. So what we're going to do next, Andy, is we're going to make some ears. And again,
I'm just going to say, one person's asked how they can get a little better view close up. I mean, what you can do at the top right of your Zoom, you just click on the grid view or gallery view and put it onto the speaker view, and then Jim's hand view will appear as if by magic large on the screen. So thank you for that question.
Absolutely, that's by far the better view to use for this, actually. So you can see, hopefully, see that a bit better now. So we've got a nice shape going. So what I'm going to do now is make some ears, and again, it's all about carrots. We're going to make 2 lots of little carrots. I'm going to leave that on the table there, and hopefully you can see that. And if I turn the reindeer around, you can kind of get an idea of how that shape works. So I'm starting off with carrots again, and again getting the clay nice and warm. And I've worked on lots of different productions. So I've worked on things like Wallace and Gromit, obviously, and Shaun the Sheep, and Timmy Time, and Pirates and Adventure with Scientists, and all sorts of other bits and pieces, weird commercials and little films. And and I've made lots of things out of different materials, so using foam latexes and silicons and quite complex 3D printing stuff as well. But really, my main love has been plasticine, and it's always been that from childhood, really. And I think there's very little you can't do with plasticine, really. So
there are people out there who are doing this, lots of children, lots of big kids as well. And you would say to them, your dream of playing with plasticine, that's your job. Like you've got your dream job, haven't you?
Absolutely. I'm a professional plasticine player, and that's stood me all right, really, for 20 odd years. So absolutely shows that if you just keep practicing and playing, then you can have a job like mine. So what I'm going to do with that carrot now is just squash it flat with your thumb and finger. Not too flat at the end on the tip of the carrot, but I want to get a kind of nice, kind of flattened carrot shape. And I'm going to put my thumb into the middle of that carrot shape and almost make like a bowl, like a spoon. Can you see that on the camera? Should just catch the light.
Yeah, so there's a real ear shape coming to life there. I know also at this stage it's important to say that you're very keen for people to just take the models in their own direction as well, aren't you?
Absolutely. I mean, this is a guideline. You can really start to make your own magic out of this as well. So if you wanted to make bigger ears, smaller ears, change the colours. As I say, there's no, you know, it's not an exam. You don't have to stick too closely to this. But it's amazing what you can do with modelling clay. And what I'm showing you really is some basic skills of construction. And this is exactly what we're doing if we're doing the Were Rabbit bunnies or, you know, making other characters, is that you're just breaking it down into basic shapes and then reconstructing it. Now, obviously, in animation terms, you'd have an armature, and you can very quickly and simply build wire armatures to go inside these things. But often, to kind of get the idea of a character, so I'm just repeating what I just did with the last ear. I'm making a left ear and a right ear. Might not be able to tell the difference, to be honest. We'll see. But yes, just to show people that you can get character. So if you want to do 2D animation or CG, you know, 3D animation, digital animation, then by quickly knocking up something in plasticine, you can actually very quickly get an idea of the character and use that as reference for all sorts of great things. Or if you can't quite imagine it and drawing it for a project, then make a quick clay model and you've got a life model in front of you to work from as well, which is really great.
I know that you've said in the past it's like sketching with clay, and I think that's a lovely thing to think that the 3D sketching is something that people don't necessarily associate with sketching, but it is a sketching process.
Absolutely, we call it making, or often a thumbnail sketch is what we call it. So yeah, on something like Creature Comforts, we'll bash out designs. We'll have quite strong designs, but some things just don't work or translate so well from 2D to 3D. So you can make that leap as well. Now, what I'm going to put the ears on. So I've been a bit more generous with this one.
We've got a really nice one here. Someone says they're using icing. That's Annabeth Wyndham has joined us in Norfolk, and so they're using icing. And everyone's saying that sounds delicious.
That is absolutely brilliant. As I was saying, actually, icing has very similar qualities to plasticine. The only difference is you probably want colder hands with icing than you do with plasticine. In that you'll melt your icing. Also, keeping cold hands with that is really good. But you can
probably clean hands as well, I would think.
Oh yes, yeah, absolutely. Now, to be honest, you could put plasticine on a cake, and it wouldn't really affect it. It's made of essentially like Vaseline or petroleum jelly and plaster, so it would be, if you do swallow it, it's the end of the world. But I don't recommend you trying to.
Yeah, you don't want to make the mistake, do you, of biting into it and then going, oh, whoops.
Well, we have had in the studio hilarious jakes where we've made fake food. Somebody was trying to flatter their lady, and she really loved millionaire shortbread, and we constructed a fake millionaire shortbread slice because our cafe or canteen had very good cake, and she really liked this cake, so we were trying to curry favour, and we unwittingly gave her the fake millionaire shortbread, and she bit into the plasticine one and was most displeased. So hilarious jakes can be had.
I can imagine that. I mean, the kind of atmosphere, although animations are very, very time-consuming and slow and methodical, and you have to have a certain kind of, I think, skill set to have that kind of pace to things. I should imagine that also creates a kind of like camaraderie and jokey nature behind the scenes.
Absolutely. I mean, you spend a lot of time making the same thing over and over again. If you spend 3 years sanding chicken bums or making then you've got to find your entertainment where you can, really, as well. So there we have a nice cheeky looking reindeer head.
I'm going to show you where I'm up to, and I think I'm just going to pop that on the screen. It's interesting because I've obviously been doing this alongside Jim for the whole of lockdown, so 8 months, and mine is what Jim would class as what is it, thummy and funny?
That's fantastic.
It's got holes in it at the back where you always say if you can't see it, don't worry. So I'm taking you on that and hoping that that's exactly the case.
Oh, that's great. That's really nice to hear. That's lovely. And I think, yeah, no, you're right, Andy. If you don't see it, don't worry about making it. You can hide things behind hats and things as well. I mean, I'm completely, thinning on top, so the hat is doing my face in the real world as well. So that's our head, and we can come back to that a bit later on. So what I'm going to do now is make a bottom for our reindeer, and as you can see on the picture here, we've got a nice little tail. Now you could put an optional white bottom on there as well. So I'm going to make a kind of hemisphere, half ball shape, but I'm going to keep a little bit of brown back with some legs. I'm going to make some sausagey legs. So take a little bit off, probably the same that you had for the ears, and keep that to one side, and use the rest to make a round ball to start off with, and then we're going to squash it on the table to make a kind of the bottom half of our reindeer. Now,
so if the plasticine, for those keen budding makers out there, the plasticine's just frozen solid, have you got any tips for people about how to warm it up?
You could pop it on in a little tub and put it on a radiator, or you could use a hairdryer is a very good way of doing it. I don't have much cool on top for a hairdryer. It's very good for the beard, but also for warming up clay. So yeah, I always have a cheap, travel hairdryer or similar, always with me in the model making department, so I can use that to warm the clay up, and it saves your hands a bit. So especially when your clay's a bit old, you can kind of bring it back to life by warming it through with a hairdryer. So I'm just going to make this round ball.
I noticed one of the things you said at the start when I first got to watch Community Playtime was you said never put it in the oven because it will make a nice mess.
Yes, well you can. People want to bake it, and that's quite a peculiar thing. So we're going to go straight to you can see my hand cam. I'm ready for the wall, and I'm just flattening that on the table to make a kind of hemisphere. You can put it in the microwave, not the microwave, in the oven to warm it through. If you can get it to about 40 or 50 degrees, then you can warm up clay, but a hairdryer is much easier. But don't try and bake it. Yeah, there's if you want to bake it, make use air drying clay, or use Fimo as well. That's another good way to do it.
Okay, I'm being told I'm too loud compared to you, so I'm going to silence myself. People are saying it's good to be making again, miss Community Playtime. And that's from Rachel and her daughter Jovi. And then any tips for getting the plasticine workable, which we've looked at. Ours is rock hard. And will we be able to watch this back again? Yes, it's being recorded. And it will be shared, I think, through the Digital Craft website once it's been uploaded to YouTube.
Fabulous. Excellent. Now I've got this nice kind of half ball shape, and what I'm going to do is just on one side, where this reindeer's bottom is going to be, I'm going to pinch out, and see what I'm doing. I'm just going to pinch out a bit of a tail as well. Now you could put a white patch on, because most deer and I think reindeer have a white patch as a kind of defense mechanism to show if one's running, that flash of white shows that they're all alerted to danger. But I'm not necessarily going to worry about it. As I was saying before, I worked on with Comic Relief and the BBC on Roddy the Reindeer, which was voiced by Ardal O'Hanlon, and that was a really great fun project to work on. The second film was called Roddy and the Legend of the Lost Tribe, which is about a legendary land of lost Vikings who've been kind of living in isolation, and they were voiced by the League of Gentlemen, which was really exciting. So I have got to work with them inadvertently.
That's so cool. So you have actually done a reindeer project in the past. So this is, as you said, especially for Digital Craft Festival, a very different and unique style to him.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got this funny looking little cup thing now with a tail on it, and hopefully you can make that out well. And I'm just going to make two little sausagey legs to stick out the bottom of it. I'm not going to worry about the rest of the legs because I can cover those with wellies, which are frankly a bit easier to make than hooves. So we're going to just make two kind of almost like licorice sort, kind of like barrels for legs. So again, it's just really simple shapes. If I leave those side by side, hopefully you can see those. Let me get rid of the chat box because that's hiding my view of what I'm doing. So you can see we're just building a kit of parts that we can then start to assemble. And again, you can see stuff like the jumper. The jumper is kind of the top part of an egg, really. So you can choose your colour for that, because that's the next thing we're going to move on to, is making the jumper, or make some sleeves. And you can go as complicated as you like, really. I've added a collar around there, and a kind of chunky knit kind of rim around the base of it as well, but you don't have to do that. You could even go more complicated and put a little plasticine kind of design on the front of an elf or a snowman and push that on. If you roll the clay very thin and then press that onto the surface, then you can do that. You can give it teeth as well. Yes, I think Zach is asking, can we give it teeth? Absolutely. I haven't on mine, but you could absolutely do that. You could sculpt in more of a mouth, and that's something we can kind of get onto later. But you could put a little bit of a grin on there, put some teeth in. Teeth you can do individually or just do a little white sausage of clay. In fact, I can very quickly show you that. So you could just take a thin stick of white clay.
I think what's lovely about this is when people say, can I do this? And it's actually lovely. You're saying, yes, go for it. Try these things, you know, how's that go? Hopefully the sound's a little bit better now. If it is, just give us a thumbs up. Hopefully I'm just a little bit quieter.
There we go. So you can see, you can add in teeth as a ring, and then as a kind of rim, and then you can add in details as well. You could even put in lips there as well if you wanted to, or yeah, you can make them rather toothy if you like. So I'm going to leave that on there for the moment actually, so I might have a bit of a play with that a bit later on. You can always put in a little bit, if you've got a pencil, pencils are really useful. If you dig in either side, you can kind of add a little bit of a gap around the mouth, and that kind of gives you that slightly coat hanger smile that you see in a lot of kind of Aardman characters as well. And really it's a chance for you to kind of get creative yourselves really. Now I'm not going to get too lost in that. You see, that's the thing, is I always get sidetracked by the exciting bit. So I'm going to finish off this other leg. And then
time-wise, we've got an hour as well, so we're completely fine. We're sort of rattling through the main bits. And I think you've always said that this is sort of a very quick live thing, which is quite difficult to, you know, sort of get right in an hour, and people might want to spend a lot longer on this.
Yeah, absolutely. This is just the starting point for you, really. And that's why I always encourage people is to maybe have a go at bashing out a rough version of it at this stage, and then you've kind of got to grips with it, and then you can really relax. So a lot of people feel pressure while doing this, and you shouldn't really feel pressurized. You should never panic over an animation, really. So I've made these little stumpy bits for legs, and I'm going to push those on either side. Now, what you can do is strengthen those with cocktail sticks, if you wish, or you can just rely on the stick of the clay. That's absolutely fine.
I know that you have a favourite cocktail stick, don't you?
It's true, actually. I have tried many of the brands. You can get bamboo ones, which aren't quite so good. They're shorter and they tend to splinter. If you need to break sticks, which you often need to do, they're not quite as good. So I'll be honest, again, a plug for Waitrose. Their Waitrose ones are very good quality. Same for Sainsbury. But the best ones I've found actually are Home Bargains. You get a big old pack of them, and they're really long, and the wood on them for some reason is absolutely brilliant quality. So if you ever get to go to Home Bargains, then I would recommend picking up some of their cocktail sticks, because they'll make amazing sculpting tools, and you don't have to have expensive ones. The one I'm using today, you can see here, is a broken old crochet hook. It's a bone crochet hook picked up at a car boot sale, and what I've done is got some wet and dry paper and sanded it down, and it makes a really nice sculpting tool. So I have a series of what would be throwaway items that I use then to sculpt things with. And I'm using that just to kind of work the clay together. You want to kind of make sure that the clay is knitted back together again into one, you know, into one piece to make it as strong as possible. And as I say, cocktail sticks make great sculpting tools, and you can sand those and fashion them into different things. But you can also, as I say, use them as supports, as bones for your characters as well.
And is you're going to your kind of career that you've had. What would be like your influences as an animator? Was it things like Tractor and things like that from the 80s? What was your kind of like go-to drive that you kind of aspired to?
Well, you've hit gold there, Andy. That's Trapdoor is still one of my favourite animations. There's loads of great stuff out there. You know, today's animations are absolutely amazing, and I really love things like Adventure Time, and you know, obviously The Simpsons and Family Guy and things like that. And lots of kids series are really, really fantastic quality now. But there was something about that period of being a kind of child of the early 80s. And there's some amazing television on there, some terrible television as well. But Trapdoor was just this a brilliantly anarchic piece of animation. And if you don't know what Trapdoor is, you can find it on YouTube.
I mean, it was,
a good
yeah,
friend with Terry Brain, and Terry sadly passed away a few years ago. But he taught me an awful lot, and he worked with Ricky Gervais on Flanimals and things like that. So he was a real influence on a lot of stuff, and it was just this brilliant thing, voiced by Willie Rushton, and apparently a lot of the speech in it was actually improvised. He would watch the animation and then make up his own comic voice tracks on the top of it. So you never quite knew where the episode was going to go, and it really had that feeling of danger and of kind of silliness, which I think animation should have. So there we go. You can see my funny little legs now, and the tail on there.
So you've got the legs and tails, and we've got, so like you said, you've got these body parts that you're making like a kit. And I think that's what's so lovely about this, is you could do a little bit each day, or you could make this bottom and make different tops for it, or different bottoms, and experiment really.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the nice thing. You can change the proportions. Once you've kind of got this down, you can turn it into all sorts of different things. So I think what I'm going to move on to next is the jumper, so we can start to see. Actually, I need a neck. That's very important. I have a bit of spare play left over. Let's get it onto camera. There we go. So I'm going to make a little neck and put that on the back.
If people don't have any of the brown left at this point, they could always do a turtleneck, couldn't they, with the same colour as the jumper?
That's a very good idea. I would recommend. I think a Christmas jumper is often a roll neck, a turtleneck. I think that's probably a very good idea, Andy. Actually, so yeah, again, go kind of channel your inner elf and go for a good roll neck sweater. I think that'd be really good. So you could put ribbing on the neck itself as well. And as I say, you could go and put like pom-poms on the jumper and go really super cheesy as well. It's a chance for you to kind of make your own characters. And if people would like to share their pictures at the end of this as well, then you can always send them to obviously to Craft Festival, the hashtag, and at Craft Festival. And you can at me at Jim Parkyn, that's Jim, and then Parkyn, or Andy as well, Andy Greenacre. And yeah, we'd love to see.
I think it's part of the ethos of what you created in lockdown with Community Playtime. And for those of you who just joined us, Community Playtime happened during lockdown and still exists in its spirit. And Jim created 91 characters over thrice weekly, or sometimes I think there was one we did every day. And these are all available on Jim's Instagram account, and they're on YouTube, a lot of them. Yeah. And it was all just for you to be able to share, which I know is a passion of yours. I know that you're passionate about getting model making in as many hands as possible, aren't you?
That's it. I mean, before this happened, I was travelling around the country at schools and people's workplaces as well, doing corporate team building and stuff like that, and just really enjoyed that sharing of it. And I think there's something to do with plasticine that breaks down the art barriers. If I asked you to draw a reindeer, as an adult, you'd probably panic and, well, not you so much, Andy, but a lot of people would do, and not enjoy it or not take part. Whereas plasticine is a gateway drug, really. It's something that we all had as children, and something evocative about the smell of it and the feel of it that really gets people to loosen up and actually have a go at creating something as well. And
you're so right, and you said I might be a bit more calm about it, but genuinely at the start I looked at this lump of coloured plasticine and just sort of went, I actually don't quite know what I'm going to do with this, and actually that kind of process of you allowing me to just make those mistakes and have a go and giving me enough to be able to try, and the rest of the people. I mean, there used to be sort of 50 people, sometimes more, watching these things, and some people just watching, not making, which I think is also, you love that as well, don't you?
Oh yeah, no, it's quite nice to see that. People find it quite calming. Some people would have their lunch and make that, and walk along. And then again, you could, it was onto IGTV, so you could actually have a watch and then have a go yourself in your own time as well. Now, I've got half a strip here I think I'm going to use for the bottom of the jumper. So I'm going to roll it up, and I'm going to kind of make, as you can see on here on the jumper, a kind of egg shape, but rather than having a round bottom on it, which we've already made, making a kind of a flat section. So
sorry, I think I didn't put the screen on you. Is it half a strip for the jumper?
Half a strip for a jumper, and you can use any colour you like. I'm going to go for a red jumper this time, just because I fancy a change from the green. And also, if I keep all of my red wellies, red gloves, or I could go for grey wellies. Actually, I might go for grey wellies this time. Then again, trying to keep it nice and clean is quite important as well. So what I'm doing is I've made a ball of clay, and then I'm actually going to roll my hands in a kind of V shape, like so. And I'm making the kind of the point of the egg. I'm then going to squash that flat on the bottom there, and this.
I see. So that bottom is what offers up to the base that you flattened on the base. I see.
Yeah, there we go. You can make them as chunky as you like, really. So it'll look something like that.
And just a few people have said mine looks like a donkey, which I think's perfect.
That's the Christmas donkey. I think that's a lovely thing to do. And again, I think the teeth really do make that. So if you want to make it into a donkey, I'd be more than happy, to be honest.
Exactly. People say they love community playtime. Also, the icing doesn't stand up very well. Haha.
Now that's where the cocktail sticks come in, you see. So whether it's plasticine, whether it's Play-Doh, or whether it's icing, cocktail sticks are an essential. Or if you've got a load of, people seem to have a lot of those kind of stirrers from Starbucks and coffee shops. And they're really great sculpting tools and scaffolding for your characters. So, you know, you'll have them in your car or around the kitchen somewhere. And they're always quite a handy thing to do. Now, what I've done with my jumper is just put a little bit, I've put my fingers into the bottom part of that flat bit, and I've made a bit of a dish so I can make it sit a little bit more onto that brown. So you can see there, it's just
sort of overhangs it slightly.
Yeah, and what that does really is it just makes it not look like I've just smashed two bits of clay together. It looks like there's a bit of reindeer underneath that jumper as well, and I think that all adds to a more believable character as well. And again,
we've got a few other characters that have been made. Someone says they've got a giraffe, and another person theirs just looks funny, which I think are all wonderful things. And I've made dinosaurs which have suddenly turned into lizards, and one turned into a bear dinosaur. So it happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Go with it. I think embrace it. As I say, it's not an exam, so no one's judging you too harshly unless you've got a competition going at home. Now, what I'm going to do now is push in the top of that cone shape or egg shape and make a little bit of a socket so I can put in the neck of my reindeer, and I'm going to butt the clay up to it because I'm going to make a little roll neck that goes around that then as well. So you can see, I think that's rather nice actually. I'm quite liking the teeth on there, so thank you for whoever suggested teeth. I think this one's going to have a rather cheery looking, goofy looking.
He looks rather cheeky, like he might polish off the mince pies rather than Father Christmas.
So yes, again, you can see character starting to form, and I'm going to take a little piece of red and roll that into a kind of fat sausage to make a little roll neck around there, and that'll help to hold the whole thing together as well. As I say, if you haven't got cocktail sticks, think about using things like sleeves and collars to kind of hold things together a little bit, and maybe even have them sitting down. That might be a good idea. So I've got this roll of red here. I'm going to offer that up and see. I think that's probably about the right size actually. I might shorten it slightly, and then I'll join the two parts together. And again,
so someone has asked how on earth do you do this so well. Let's just address the elephant in the room. How many years have you been professionally playing with plasticine?
Goodness. Well, technically professionally, I've been doing it for I think 22 years. So I started at a very small company in Cardiff making sci-fi animated adventure, making space zombies and dragons and all sorts of stuff. So really kind of like a nerd's kind of sci-fi dream, really. That series never made it to air in the end. It got pulled before it finished, but it meant that I learned loads of sculpting techniques and puppeteering, and modeling techniques, and again got to play with plasticine and make all these amazing things. Even if they didn't actually get onto television, it was still a great way to learn. And it's those couple of years that I spent in Cardiff and in South Wales, which is where I did my degree in animation. So you can do degree in animation. And that's where I learned my trade before I joined Arden on Chicken Run.
Do you think that there's a real kind of, in the Southwest, obviously this festival that Sarah's put together is sort of in the Southwest, but obviously reaches out across the whole nation, but there seems to be a real kind of, in the Southwest and Bristol, Cardiff, all in that area, massive amount of people who are within the industry that you're in. Is that just a fluke? What do you think that is? Why do you think that's happened?
Well, what I'm doing is I'm just putting a little bit of a neck on it, the collar, some ribbing on here. So yes, Southwest. I think Bristol was kind of blessed in a way because BBC were here.
Okay.
I think when the BBC Wildlife Unit and BBC Television were based on White Ladies Road in Bristol, so that's still got a big influence. And I think so that made satellite companies moved around, and that's one of the reasons why I came to Bristol. Cardiff have got a good kind of creative core of animation companies, certainly within Cardiff when I started out my career, and then that kind of suddenly dropped off with a lack of funding from the BBC and from S4C, which is the Welsh Channel 4. So it kind of sparked a bit of a death knell. But things like Super Ted were made there, and Shoe People, and all sorts of brilliant 80s and 90s cartoons were made in this creative hub. And now there's great film funding and studios in Cardiff, where they made His Dark Materials, and Doctor Who, of course, went from Bristol to Cardiff, and and the same with like Casualty and things like that, all got filmed from Bristol and then went to Cardiff. So there's a lot of impetus there to make great things. And I think the Southwest has something quite unique about it, although there is a raging brilliant animation scene in Manchester as well. So we've just seen the end of the Manchester Animation Festival as well, which has been a fantastic event that's been going on as well. But yeah, the Southwest seems to breed that. I don't know quite what it is in the water that does it. And not far from the home of the Craft Festival, probably Tracy, Newton Abbot is where plasticine's actually made.
Yes, I believe so. It's the original location of it. I had a question which came to you, Jim, and I really like this one because it's sort of probably one that you probably have several answers to it. It says, what is, let me see if I can find the question, sorry. It says, what is your favourite character? I think, hang on a sec. I've lost the question. Sorry about this. Someone's making a scarf. We'll see how that turns out, they've said. Okay, do you have a favourite character you've ever made?
Oh, that's really tricky. I think it's from quite a while ago, but I loved working on the later series of Creature Comforts. So making animals has always been my favourite passion, really, and drawing, photographing animals and being out in the world or visiting zoos. I got a deep love for that. So making funny animals all day. And I just love the concept of Creature Comforts. It's probably my happiest time working in animation. Very happy couple of years spent doing several series of that as well. While we're doing this, also, we can start to make some carrots again, I'm afraid, for sleeves. So you can see on here, they've got a bend in the arm. Essentially, it's a kind of carrot shape or a cone shape. So you can push your fingers into the end of the sleeve to make a bit of a socket, and that will mean then you can put in mittens, or you might want to put hooves in. That's completely up to you. But what I'm doing on the top of the body is going to use my sculpting tool, and I would recommend you use like a pencil and make a couple of holes, sockets for your arms to go into. So you're just making a little bit of a ball and socket joint where the clay will just sit inside a little bit and help to join itself up later on. So yeah, Creature Comforts is the real favourite, and I've still got a few bits of old puppets lying around in the studio as well.
Brilliant. I think that Creature Comforts is a family favourite at Christmas with us, and I think it's sort of one of those national treasures that everyone loves. So it's what thing to be involved with. And someone's asked if you were involved with Shaun the Sheep, an early man. And I know that you have been involved with Shaun the Sheep. I can answer that one for Jim. Were you involved with Early Man as well?
I had a little bit to do with it. Oddly, I ended up more in the promotional side of it. So I ended up working with our marketing and licensing department and doing really mad live events. So it's actually, I like to move around the different departments a little bit and have contact with them within the studio anyway. So I like to work with marketing licensing and doing things like live events. But I taught Eddie Redmayne and Tom Hiddleston and Maisie Williams how to make their very own hobnobs as well. The hobnob, if you don't know, is the wild boar hero character from Early Man. And that's quite an odd thing. And animation takes you weird places. I've taught Harry and Will and Kate how Middleton, our future heads of royalty, the future king, how to make a Shaun the Sheep at the Farmers Llamas.
Fantastic.
And that's quite an odd thing, teaching Kate how to wang a welly, because they'd never wanged wellies before the royals. So that's quite an odd thing, being in BAFTA headquarters, throwing wellies at a farmer scarecrow. It's quite an odd thing to find yourself on the front page of the Sun newspaper with the future king and queen, which is quite a bizarre place to be. So I'm not quite by royal appointment, but
yeah, very. My sound has gone for some reason a little bit strange. It sounds like I'm reverbing, so I don't know whether that's coming across, but we're fine. So what have you done here then, Jim? You've made little carrots, and then you've flattened the ends off.
Just put my fingers into the ends to make a kind of little cup shape. So it's almost like an ice cream cone, and you can even put in a little bit of a crease in there to make. If I do this a bit, I'm knocking my other reindeer to pieces. This is perils of live model making. Is keeping things nice and steady. Oops, I might lie this one down for the moment. That'll be easier to see. There we go. So you can see the shapes, and you can see the mittens rather nicely there. So yeah, I'm going to put in a little bit of creasing in the sleeves for where the elbows go as well. So again, it adds a little bit of extra detail, and it doesn't take very long to do. That's the nice thing, really. There we go.
I love the kind of cartoon approach to this, where when you look at this now, the arms are fatter at the bottom than at the top, which is completely opposite to what you would do, but it looks so successful in the model.
Yeah, you can cheat quite a lot with it, which is really nice, and it just change those proportions, and you could make the bodies longer and thinner, or shorter and fatter, and again, the same techniques will really just change the proportions and change the character massively. So I think now we're ready to move on to some mittens, I think, as well. Now, mittens are nice and simple, and I could go for a change of colour, perhaps. Or do I go for red? No, I'm going to stick with the red, actually. I'm liking this red colour. So you can just take small amounts of clay, and it's rather like making a morph hand, actually. If anybody's ever had a go at making a morph, it's a very similar kind of thing. So I'll start off with a round ball. We've lost Andy's visual for a moment, but I'll carry on talking regardless. So we have a kind of round ball shape, and what I'm going to do is then flatten one end of it to make a kind of mitten shape like that, or a hand shape. And I've got the nice palm there, so that's going to match that. And then what I'm going to do is just pinch up a thumb. You can see that. So again, simple shapes. Andy, you're back.
Yes, I was just a little. It's the perils of live, as you say, and there was a message came through which somehow interrupted. So yes, one of those things.
There we go. So you can see I'm going to make another one. So I've made one mitten. So we start off with a round ball. And again, these shapes are so simple. It doesn't have to be intimidating. We're making quite a complicated model, actually, but I'm hoping that you're all at home are finding it pretty simple, really. I'm just breaking it down into these separate compartmental elements. Just makes it a little bit less intimidating. So here we have again the round ball. I've just squashed one side of it and made a kind of button shape or that mitten shape, and then I'm just going to. It's really this quick. You can see it, transform before your very eyes. Just pinching out.
It's amazing how things just come to fruition, and yet when you look at it, you're like, this will never work, and then it's suddenly there. And I know that Miriam probably added information again if if I ask nicely. I know that this will be shared on YouTube and on social media channels once the recording has been put together. So there will be an opportunity for people to go back in the next week or two and rewatch this and spend more time on it as well.
Yeah, hopefully that'd be absolutely brilliant. And as I say, I will be making more of these on Community Playtime. So I'm going to do a host of different Christmas characters on a similar vein, and also what we were really due to do, as this was supposed to be in Bath. We were all supposed to be in Bath this weekend. I was in earlier. I had a very nice toasted sandwich actually. I was getting shopping in between sessions. You know, I was due to be doing my amazing scene machine as well, which is an animated arts experience using plasticine, but using it in a different way.
So yeah, so why don't you tell us about that? I mean, we're at a point where people can be making in the background, or if you've got any more detail you need to tell us at the moment.
So what I've done now is I've just pushed the hands literally into that cone shape, so they kind of looks like it could be rolling up a ball of snow or something like that. So you could put you know, anything you like in the hands of your characters as well, accessorized. So yeah, Amazing Scene Machine is a project that I started some years ago, and it kind of comes and goes, but it's a really great live experience. And essentially, it's a time-lapsed art piece, and I take modeling clay, plasticine. You could use Play-Doh as well, or even icing, and I make a kind of 2D plasticine painting as a backdrop wherever I am. So if I was out, say at the Craft Festival, I would make a recreation of the festival in 2D, and then encourage the public to come along and make themselves and make things that they've seen at the festival, and build up this time-lapse piece of artwork. So every time I add an element to it, I would take a frame, take a still image, and then it gets sequenced and makes it a time-lapsed animation of this. So you get a finished art piece at the end of the festival, but you also get a film to go with it as well, which is rather special. And I've done it for weddings, which is great fun. And I've done it for birthday parties, and I've even done it for the Henley Women's Rowing Championship, which was really great fun. So,
is that one of the ones where you've worked with the Eden Project with that one as well?
Yes, actually, yes. That's one of the last things we did before this all went bonkers, was to be at Eden Project and work with people who came in, day visitors, and we would make amazing things, flowers and lizards and fruit and plants, and plasticine versions of all the sculptures that are at the Eden Project as well. And yeah, had a fantastic week making films and making these interactive art pieces, and everyone's unique. It doesn't matter where you go or what the theme. Each day is different, and each lot of people are different and make really incredible things. So
I know that we've got about 10 minutes, I think, left on the make. So I don't know whether we can get to a point where we let people sort of run away and have a play after this. But what sort of things do you think we'll need to do just to make sure they've got a semi-completed character?
I will quickly make up some wellies, and again, you can choose your colour. I'll go red all the way, just for simplicity, and also because it keeps my character nice and clean. So I'm going to make a kind of fat, again, like a licorice all sort, really. It's all about food. So make a fat, oops, I wobble the camera a bit, a fat tube or a cylinder like so, and then if I fold it over in half, well, into a kind of L shape, I can then flatten the top to make a little socket for the legs to go in, and then flatten the base to make the bottom of the wellies and round off a toe as well. Again, you could add a sole in there as well, or keep it nice and simple. So I quite favour the simplicity of it, really. As I say, I've done lots of complicated projects and multi-million-pound projects, and done incredible things with the teams that I work with. But what I really hark after is the simplicity of playing with clay, and I think there's something really quite joyous about that. So you can see, hopefully, on this one. Now we've got a nice Wellington, and then I'll do one more.
Just to let you know, if we're not in a tearing hurry, we can go over the hour. It's entirely up to us. So we're not in a tearing hurry, then that's good, isn't it?
Brilliant. Well, I will. We've got a nose and some eyes, and then antlers, really. But we're not that far off, to be honest, which is it's quite encouraging. We've done a lot in an hour.
one person has said they're having a bit of trouble with plastic clay. They're using clay. It's cracking and slumping. I mean, you're a user of lots of different mediums, and I know you use clay as well, don't you?
Yes. Now it's hard to know what kind of clay they're using, but again, it's a lot of it's about making supports really. If you're having that kind of problem, cracking, if it's water based, then you obviously can use water, and then that will kind of loosen the clay, and that will help you smoothing it over. But you might have to build it up bit by bit, or even dry some bits out. Using a hairdryer, again, you could use some bits to kind of start to solidify some bits. If it's plasticine, then use a hairdryer or warm up the clay first and then get it in. But cocktail sticks, again, put a little something inside will be really useful. But as you've seen on mine, I haven't got that.
So we've got the feet, we've got the boots or feet going on. If you can just show us on the camera that, look at this little chap coming along. So Jim's popped these little feet on, and I mean the character's looking pretty awesome. I love his teeth on this one, and you can see the difference between the two. And many a time at community playtime, I've seen Jim suddenly segue into a slightly different character by adding teeth or all sorts of things.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you've got the option of a hat and antlers, or you could go straight into antlers. That would be absolutely fine. I'm going to put a black nose on onto my reindeer, and I'm going to just go for kind of a round ball to start off with. And you might notice on there's a pair of nostrils, so you could add nostrils, or you could just keep it as a simple kind of lozenge shape.
So it's surprising how little you need for this, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, we've not used much clay at all, really, have we? We're using quite small amounts of clay. Now, the reason why I haven't gone for a red nose, shall we say, very carefully, is because actually a lot of people don't know the song that involves a reindeer with cerise nose, shall we say, is actually a trademark, and the Rudolph, I've said it, the Rudolph Foundation are very protective of that. So the song actually is still trademarked, and any imagery with a caribou with a red proboscis can face litigation. And it's a charitable foundation, so the money goes to helping children and stuff, and which is a great thing. But
just going to spotlight on you for a minute, Jim, because I think that there was quite a comedy moment there when you were trying to navigate the verbal quagmire of what was it? A caribou with a cerise
proboscis.
Fantastic.
I'm using a wet wipe. I don't like to use them too much, to be honest. These ones are 100% biodegradable, so I'm doing my best here. Often I'll just pop off and use some soap and cold water so you can change your colours, but wet wipes are really useful, so I try and max them out as much as possible when I do use them. So I'm just going to make a couple of white balls of clay for his eyes, and then we can pop some little pupils on as well. So
how much are we using for this, Jim? How much do you use to make the eyes?
Again, you can change the character massively, so I'm going to go for very small pieces. Again, bigger eyes will really change the character there as well. So, quite dirty hands actually. So again,
mine's got little bits of red on it from where it's been sat next to something else. So it looks like it's got bloodshot eyes.
Well, it might have. Yeah, it might be rather tired. Yeah.
From rushing around, dragging a sleigh around, doing his test runs for the big day.
There's not much time for sleep, I think. So there we go. I'm just going to pop those in. I quite like the idea.
Now, if somebody's got the pack, which is the rainbow pack, and they don't have any of the colours like black and stuff like that. I mean, I've put a blue nose on mine.
Yes.
What would you?
Yeah, the rainbow pack doesn't have that. Doesn't have the black. Often I try and avoid black, actually. I quite like to use other colours. So a blue nose will actually look really great against the brown.
And what about the eyes? What would you do with that then, Jim, if they haven't got black?
If you haven't got black, I would probably go for, again, you could go for blue, and that would look rather nice as an eyeball, and then put a little white dot on there and make it look like a kind of a nice kind of little bit of reflection. So you've got like a bright button eye as well. That would work really well.
So we've got all sorts of people telling me ours is a dragon, which I love. I love that it's a dragon. They're loving the plasticine time. And then someone said theirs has got a snowball, which I think you have to have very clean hands to get the white on there. So well done with that. And one person's chosen a purple nose as well.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, there is a brilliant brewery in Wales called Purple Moose Brewery as well, which is up near Snowdonia. So if anybody's around that area or finds themselves around there, it's a very good brewery.
I mean, what we might do at this stage, actually, Jim, is just while you're just having a little bit of a tidy up in the title, we do the hatters and antlers if we can. But I mean, should we try and see if there's anybody who wants to show us what they've been doing?
That would be amazing. I'd love that.
I don't know if Merrin, who's helping us with the tech, can put some people on the spotlight. If you want to, just let us know, and we'll just show you on the screen. Oh, we've got
Perry
Ian Perry, who's got one. Who's holding it up at the moment, which I quite like the look of.
Looking very good indeed, actually. Well, there's a few people. Yeah. Zach as well is quite eager to share.
Yeah. So we'll see if Merrin can share some of those, spotlight them for us. There's loads of people who want to show theirs, and if we don't have time to show them today, what we will do is we'll say, can you share them on Instagram using tagging at Jim Parkyn, and also obviously the Digital Craft Festival as well, myself if you wish, and we can obviously share them around. And we'll see if we can get some on the screen now. I can also have a little try and see if I can do that as well.
Well, while you're doing that, or you're playing with the tech, that's not always my greatest forte. As I've demonstrated by actually being able to get in to show you this in the first place. I'm just going to take a little bit of white clay, or you could mix a bit of brown and white. I've made a kind of stick shape, and then I'm going to start to pinch out some points. You can see.
Okay, I can actually go to Zach now. Zach would like to show us. I will spotlight Zach. Zach, let's have a look at what you've been creating. Wow, Jim, look at that.
Look at that. That is fantastic. Amazing work. Great sweater and great colours as well. Really lovely. Oh, fantastic.
I'm going to have a look. Someone's popping those on Insta later. I'm going to have a look and see if I can find some more. I know that there was, I think it was Ian Perry who wanted to show us as well, so we'll do a spotlight on there as well. Hello, Ian. There we go. Let's have a look, see. And I don't think this is probably Ian's son, but shall we have a look and see? Oh my word!
That's amazing. Look at the hat. Look at the antlers. You've got it all. You've beaten me to it as well. See, there we go. Too much talking on my end and not enough making. So well done there. That's absolutely amazing.
And that's Stan apparently, and because the messages are popping up very quickly. If there's anyone else who would like for us to show theirs, and I will obviously do that right now as well. So just let me know. Lots of people saying well done. Nikki. Okay, let's have a look at Nikki. I'm going to go down to Nikki and see if I can find her. Let's have a look. Let's see if we can find Nikki. Nikki. Wow, look at this one.
Complete with snowball as well. That's absolutely amazing.
And is that one? Does that look like it's made out of Fino? I think perhaps.
Yeah, perhaps. I don't know. Whatever the clay is, it's lovely colours though.
Yeah, really, really cool. Excellent. Well done. These are really good. Someone else said they'll show. That's Ebi. I'm going to go to them as well. We might run out of time of showing people, but we are going to keep trying to show a few of them because I think it's really lovely that you're all joining in. Hello there. So let's have a look and see if we can see. Oh, Jim Parkyn, step aside. I think you have a rival.
I know, beating me at my own game there. That's amazing. Well done. Absolutely fantastic.
Matthew wants to show his plays. That's Lauren. Lauren, I assume it's on yours. We'll just have a quick look. I'm assuming this is here. It is. Let's have a look. Let's see if we can. Here we go. Oh, here we go.
These are absolutely fantastic. Look at the face, and the mittens are really beautiful. Oh, we've got a pair and some great teeth there as well.
Excellent, well done. And we've got Alice, Franklin, and Arthur and Wilbur. Might be my last couple. Let's have a look. Alice, Franklin, just do a couple more. There we go. Oh, look at these.
Oh, look at that. The face is incredible. Lovely. And it shows actually, even if you haven't got colours, many colours, you can still do incredible things with just white clay as well. That is absolutely amazing. Well done, team.
And there should be one more. Oh, Jim. I think there's a whole plethora of people who are chasing you down for your jobs.
Well, I think you've embarrassed me. These are really beautiful. Yeah, absolutely amazing. Well done, team. Love that.
Yes, okay. And we're going to get back to Jim. We're going to show some more bits of this. Jim, well, there you go. I mean, that was amazing. Let's have a look, see how you're getting on. So you've made a little antler there that you've added.
So there we have one antler. I'm just making the other one. Very simple shapes, and we'll draw it to a close once I've got the other antler on. But yeah, absolutely incredible. And I think, again, showing in the time, we've achieved a great deal, really. I think that's absolutely superb.
I'm just blown away by the talent in the room, and I think it's a testament to you, Jim, that you bring out this ability for people to feel brave enough to try things, and it's so lovely that all these youngsters are kind of going to be forging forward, and one day, you never know, they might be there in the same studio as you.
Absolutely, they're probably being my boss. I've had it happen before.
So we've got Jim here. For those of you who are just watching, Jim's adding his last antlers to his wonderful reindeer, which I think Sarah named. I think she called it, was it Roddy? Rudy? I can't remember what she called him. She named him the other day, but you can name yours whatever you wish. And this has all been put together and wonderfully organised by Sarah of Craft Festival, Digital Craft Festival, which is happening this weekend. Please do go and support all of the wonderful makers and creators who doing content. Jim has very kindly done this for everybody and supported by all sorts of organisations like Arts Council. And it's so nice to be able to spend a bit of time together, distance-wise, virtually like this, on this rather cold Saturday afternoon. Jim, I'm going to make you feel rather better, because at the moment I'm going to show you where I've got up to. And we have some feet, but apart from that, I think I may have to could have done better, I think is what we would say. I
think there's lessons there in less talking and more making, and for both of us, I think. So.
So Roddy, there you go. Roddy is who she named it after her dad. Everyone's saying thank you very much to Jim. Jim, have you got anything you want to leave, a sentiment to anyone out there, these young makers, something to get them really inspired?
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, you've all been quite inspiring today. The amount of work you've done is absolutely fantastic. But I recommend finding yourself an app. I use something called Stop Motion Studio, and there's a pro version, I think, which has an added add-on for about £2 or £3. But free software is out there, so have a go. Either keep these on in a nice little box or in a little display case, and they'll last for years, or destroy them through animation. But have a go at taking the next step and bringing these creations to life. And as I say, do share them with us as well. We absolutely love to see what you've achieved today. And if you manage to do some animation, send that through as well.
Brilliant. Jim, it's been an absolute pleasure to chat with you and for you to share this time with us. Thank you to everyone at Digital Craft Festival, Mary is behind the scenes doing the tech, Jim, for your time, and we look forward to seeing you all virtually and your wonderful creations. Do tag at Digital Craft Festival, at Jim Parkyn. We want to see what you've been up to.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Bye.